time to start making a tutorial that I've been putting off making for weeks now, and it's one that I've been asked for the most since I started this channel, and I made a bunch of little YouTube shorts about how I make low poly car models. And the reason that I've been kind of putting off making it is that I wanted to find a workflow that I could explain easily but also led to a satisfying model. I found quite a lot of tutorials don't make the whole car, or they're kind of focusing on the high poly stuff and lots of smoothing, and they're kind of missing a lot of the fundamentals. Ever since I started making 3D models, like the main thing that I wanted to make was cars, and it's always been the hardest thing for me to do. I've recently started working on a racing game project, and for that I need a lot of car models like this one here, and I've kind of really nailed this low poly aesthetic that works really well for my project, but it's also high detail. It's not kind of low poly in the really traditional sense. This is maybe comparable with some of the stuff that you would have got in some sort of PS2 games, but it's got that like clean HD style, and they're really fun to make. So I think I finally kind of found a workflow that suits me and one that I can explain well. So we're not going to make this BMW E30, mainly because I've made it and I don't want to do the same thing again. We're going to do something similar. So we're going to tackle the iconic Peugeot 205 GTI, which it's not, you know, if you're not old like me, it's maybe not your dream car, but it is an absolute icon. It's a rally weapon. It's one of my favourite ever vehicles, and it's got the advantage of being kind of boxy to start with, but with some subtle curves. So again, I found that if you start with really curvy cars, it kind of teaches you some bad techniques, because you can hide a lot of stuff, whereas if you want to really nail the fundamentals of the shape and the structure, something kind of boxier is better to work with, and you'll find that it has some surprising challenges in it. Also, we're going to stay working in low poly, but we're going to try and use some of that high poly methodology. So the idea of keeping everything quads, the idea of being able to apply a mesh smoothing if you want to, and we might further down the road look at how we could bump this up to a high poly model, start separating out the body panels. But I was really mindful that I didn't want to kind of overcomplicate it at this point. So that's where we're at. It's not a complete beginner's tutorial. If this is your first time loading up Blender, maybe this isn't the one to do. Like, go and do the donut, go and do the classics, learn the basics. I've got plenty of tutorials for absolute beginners. At the same time, I want this to be accessible for everyone, so we are going to go through each step in detail. It's going to be a long tutorial. I don't know how many parts it's going to be, but we're going to look at building the outlines, filling in the mesh, adding in the details. We're not going to tackle the interior on this tutorial. I think we're going to do that in a whole separate course, but we're going to get pretty in depth with it. Hopefully you'll learn a lot of interesting techniques. So we have to spend a bit of time now doing the setup before we can get into anything else. So the first lesson in this course is going to be making sure that our environment is set up the right way, that we've got all the tools we need, and we've got our blueprint set up correctly. So I'm using Blender 4.5, the latest version, which I think I downloaded last night, and helpfully I managed to reset all my preferences, which is bad for me but great for this course because it means that I'm essentially approaching from a completely blank setup. The only thing I've got turned on that you won't have is screencast keys, but I don't have any extensions, I don't have any extra bits installed, so we're starting from the same default. This should work on any version of Blender, but I've only been using it properly since like 3.5. It will be great if you're running at least version 4. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by installing all the extras we're going to need, and they're going to change the way these work in Blender now, but we're going to go to edit and preferences, and then we're going to go to get extensions, and we're going to need the following. So first we want loop tools, so if you just search for it in the get extensions part and then hit the install button. Then we want something called extra mesh objects, so we're going to install that. And then we don't need it yet. We might not even need it on this course, but it looks like it's now default. So I was going to install Node Wrangler, but I think it's already a default, which is great because it's very useful. So if I now go to add-ons, I can see that it's there, but it's not turned on. So we'll turn on Node Wrangler, and then we're just going to check if our, so where our other extra mesh objects is there and turned on, and what was the other one we added? Loop tools. Yeah. So we're good to go. So what we're going to do now is we're going to, I know I've already done this, but I'm just going to make a new scene just to make sure we're all the same, and we can just delete everything in the scene for now. And the next add-on we're going to use is a piece of software called PureRef. So there'll be a link to it in the description, and I find this really useful. If you don't want to load an extra program for references, that's fine, but I would really recommend that we use this because it's just very helpful to be able to have something floating around on top of the screen that has all of our reference images. So what you'll notice with PureRef is that it floats on top regardless of being able to use the software behind it, and you can scale and rescale. So I like to tend to have it kind of tucked up over here. Hopefully it's not going to get in the way of any information we need on the screen. And then in the video description there'll be a link to both my Discord and my Patreon, where I've got all of the reference images and the blueprints that you'll need for this. Both are free. Obviously at any point if you ever want to throw some money my way to support me doing this, that's great, but all of this course is free of charge. And you will find that in that folder there is a folder called blueprints and one called reference, and we're just going to go through. There's a bunch of images here. Some of them are real cars, some of them are toy cars, some of them are liveries, which we might get into later on in the course. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a few images and drag them into PureRef, and we can zoom in and out with the mouse wheel and drag them around. So I want a front and a back kind of angled view, and we'll just, if you hold down the middle mouse button, you can drag to the side to make more space. Let's bring in, I've got a side view here, and we can increase the size of that. So you're just laying out this like reference mood board. Let's get a back view. So you can just drag them in and then move around, use the mouse wheel to zoom in and out. So you can kind of get the idea with this. Let's put in, we've got a side view, we've got a back view, let's have a front view. I find it's really useful to have angled views as well, because sometimes it's hard to see. For example, it's a bit hard to know how these lights fit at the front, but then when you look at the side view you get kind of more of a sense of how that works. Let's put a wheel in for later. Don't need that now, but helpful to have. And I just want to use this blue one as well because it shows a detail on the back that the white image doesn't really show. And we'll come to that later, but it's this kind of like, it's like a little crease here that you can't see in the others, but we don't need to worry about that for now. So that is our reference setup, and let's just kind of scroll in so we can see these for now, and we'll just put that in the corner. It's also a good idea to save your reference. So we right click and we go down to save as, and I'm just going to put it in the same folder as everything else that I'm working on. Here we go. And that way when you load up PureRef again, it will load all the images up automatically and you don't lose everything, which makes sense. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is start bringing in our blueprints. So we're going to click this button here at the top to flip to the top view, and we're going to hit Shift and A, and we're going to go to Image and Reference. And I'm just going to navigate to my tutorial folder and blueprints. So there's 4 images in here, and if we just hit the thumbnails button, we can see what we're working with. So we want the top one, and we're going to hit R and Z, and we're going to rotate 90 degrees so it's pointing down like this, and then we can use the middle mouse button to rotate back to this view. And I just want to push this face down, this image down, so it's out of the way. But you'll notice that when we view it from the top, it's still, because it's a non-perspective view, it's still perfectly in place. And then we're going to go over here to the right hand side, and we're just going to tick this box that says opacity, and you'll see that the image is now nicely see-through, which we'll need for working on top of. What I like to do before we go too far on is to get the scale of everything right. It's much easier to work with the accurate dimensions of the object. Again, it's really useful if you're bringing it into a game engine or 3D printing or all sorts of stuff later on. Not that you're going to be 3D printing a 4 meter Peugeot. If you do that, send me a link, I really want to see it. So we're going to go to trusty Google. I'll just move my reference out of the way. We're just going to Google dimensions of Peugeot 205 GTI. We'll go for the 1.9, just might as well get the most information. And Google brings everything up here. So we know that the length of it is this, so we're just going to copy that for now. Go back to Blender. We'll just put this over here for now. And go Shift and A. And we're going to bring back our cube, and I can already see I'm going to have to move my reference out of the way. It's going to be a lot of this. And we're going to go down to the bottom here, and we know that the length of it is the value that we just copied. So this is the Y, the green, there we go. So we're going to hit Control V, and then we're just going to make sure we type in millimetres on the end, otherwise you're going to end up with a giant 4 kilometre long car. Again, if you find one of those, I'd love to see it. So let's set the width of the car now, so I'll just copy that value over. And the width is the X, so that's going in here. And again, make sure you type in millimetres. And then the last part to pick up is the height. So that goes in the Z, millimetres on the end. And what we're going to do now is we're going to take our blueprint, we're just going to turn on X-ray mode as well, so we can see properly. And we're going to hit S to scale, and it's not going to fit entirely perfectly because it looks like those dimensions don't include the over fenders. I think those are the dimensions for standard Peugeot that don't have these cool over fenders, but it's close enough. So we're just going to rename this, so F2, we're just going to rename this dimensions cube, and we'll turn it off for now. And let's drag our reference back up here. You can also minimise your reference, keep it out of the way, so in fact let's do that. And then we're going to select this object here, and we're also going to name this, so we're going to call it 205 top view, and then we're going to hit Shift and D, and it's going to give me a loose object. So if I now right click, it will return to where it was, but you can see we've got a duplicate object up there. I'm going to hit G and Z and pull it up, and then we're going to hit R to rotate on the Y axis, so okay, R and then Y, and then type in 90. And now with this image section still selected, we can click this button here and load in our side viewpoint, and we're just going to pull this off to the back. Now what we want to do is hit Shift and D again, and again it's loose, so we'll right click, and then if we hit G and X, pull it back towards the centre, and then in fact we could set the location here. So we're going to zero all of those, and then we're going to rotate this on the Z axis 90 degrees, I think minus 90, so I'll just do that again. Rotate on the Z axis minus 90, there we go. And then we're going to choose the back view for this. So we'll then pull that back here, and then one more time we're going to Shift D and do the same thing. So let's choose the front blueprint. And we still need to do a bit of tweaking here, so let's go to our side view. So make sure that the car is facing this way. And then we're just going to pull this up so that it sits on the green line as best you can. So zoom in, pull it down. I've made these blueprints from a bunch of photos, and you will find that as you get into doing more 3D car modelling, blueprints are never right. They never match up. The scales, there'll just be bits that are off, and you have to learn to compensate for that. I have done my best to make sure that these are as workable as they can be for a beginner, so hopefully you won't have too much kind of guesswork to do, but yeah, we might cover that in the future about how you adjust for that. So we're going to flip round to the front, and it can get a bit confusing here because you'll see that both of these are overlaid, and we'll fix that, but just for now we're going to make sure we've got this selected before we flip to the front, so that way we know we're working on this one. And then we're going to pull this up on the G, and we want it to sit like that. So how do we stop seeing both views at the same time? Now we can see that the bottom one is this selectable object and the top one is this. And if you look over to the right hand side, we can choose that this goes on the back and then it disappears. And then if I click on this one, so now when I flip my view around, we only see the back. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to pull this up to and we just need to check that the center line, so you can see when I hit G and Z, the centre line passes through the centre of that lock, so we know we're in the middle, and we'll just do the same check on the front. And I appreciate we're going really slowly with this and taking a lot of time to set this up, which might be frustrating. If you're finding this difficult, this is maybe not the tutorial for you, because the more time you spend getting the groundwork right, the better your final model will be, and there will be a lot of like correcting things as you go. So this isn't the kind of tutorial where we're just going to blast through it and you're going to have this finished car in an hour, because I want to teach you the principles. I want to show you how you compensate for things that don't go as planned. So we're taking our time to get every part right as we go. So we know that these are now all sitting on the same line, and then something else I like to do is to pick a common point just to make sure that these two are lined up. Now they should already be lined up because I set up the blueprints correctly, but just in case they're not, what I like to do is I normally pick this point on the door handle, on the door, but you could pick any part that is identifiable on all your blueprints, and we're just going to pull that to the centre line here. And then if we flip to the top view, we're going to do the same thing. So we're just going to position that here. Okay, and then last thing we're going to do is going to bring back our dimension cube, and if we pull that into place, we can see that everything's kind of looking right. So we know everything's in proportion, we've not accidentally stretched anything. Perfect. Okay, so now we can turn that. In fact, let's just delete that. Now, one thing that I like to do, again, this is up to you, I find it really confusing to have these visible in perspective view. So we're going to do a bit of tidying up. So we're going to click on each one of these and then turn off perspective. So now you only see them when you're in the orthographic view. And one really important bit of housekeeping we need to do now is to name each of these. So we're going to call this 205 side view, and then let's flip the camera, 205 back view, and 205 front view. We've already named the top view. I'm going to select all four of these, so click on the top one, shift, select the bottom, and then with the mouse hovering over this hierarchy, hit the M key, and then we're going to choose new collection, and we'll call it blueprints. And what I like to do now is click on this little funnel and turn on the restrictions toggle. So this gives us this little kind of mouse cursor, and if I now click these off, I can't actually select these objects, which makes it a lot easier to stop accidentally clicking things. So we are done, we are ready to start this. So what I like to do at this point is to go and save our file. And I'm going to go back to my tutorial folder, and I'm going to make a new folder and call it meshes. And what I like to do is name the file and call it, and then put stage after it and then give it a number, because I like to save incrementally as we go, so there's always a version to roll back to if you get lost or make a mistake. And there we go, we are ready to get into the tutorial properly.